Motorhomediaries.com.
This is Jason with Motorhome Diaries. Yesterday the crew and I were in Hardin, Montana, and we were just in time for a bunch of politicians to get together to discuss the correctional facility that's going on in their town. There's a lot of media there, and there's a big controversy, so let me get you up to date. In 2004, 2005, a Texas development consortium convinced the Industrial Development Authority there in Hardin to float a bond to build a prison. Costs $27 million, and prisons, of course, can be highly lucrative in depressed populations. Unfortunately, it's because of the massive prison populations that you have in the United States. So they built this prison, $27 million, like I said, to house 464 inmates. As of today, October 6th, it is still empty, and the jail was opened on July 2007. So they have already defaulted on their bonds as of May 1st, 2008. So this was a horrible mistake for this town that already doesn't have much. I mean, it was a last-ditch effort to bring some jobs into the community, and unfortunately they made a deal with the devil. This Texas Development Consortium, it's interesting that it's from Texas because, of course, they have a huge prison population themselves, so they're trying to export that into other states such as Montana. So the story gets more interesting because they have this empty prison they don't know what to do with. So the city council in Hardin and the Two Rivers Authority proposed that some of the Guantanamo Bay inmates, when it closes down, that they be shipped there. And then it gets weirder. You have this American police force that this desperate town contracted with, or was just getting ready to contract with, and they have this wannabe Bond villain who's their leader, this captain. Well, he calls himself a captain, but he said that he was in Afghanistan and Iraq, and there's a lot of disputes about whether that happened.
I asked him, I said, well, it's my understanding you had a medical issue. You had a heart attack or something a couple of weeks ago. And he says, well, not really. He said, I had a stent put in, but he said, that's a result of some shrapnel floating around inside me. Well, and we went a little further. He says, yeah, I said, I spent some time in Iraq, a few months ago. Well, then I'm hearing information since that point that he wasn't even in Iraq. In the Billings Gazette, I read that he's got 14 felonies, 10 counts of grand theft. I didn't know about that either.
In the following footage, you can see that these commissioners of the Two Rivers Authority put themselves in a very tough situation based on years of bad decision-making. And so this is why it's become a national news story.
There's too many red flags coming up. I feel like there's too much unanswered information out there. Things I didn't realize a couple weeks ago that I do now. And I think things need to be put on hold.
I wasn't very pleased with the information that I found out after we'd already went to California to meet with these individuals. There definitely are a lot of questions that have to be answered before I'll put my name on a contract. And I've made that clear to the board members. I'm not going to say this is a deal killer. There were things that were done I think could have been done better. I think as Tim pointed out, normally this room is empty with the exception of us, and as we can see that there is a number of media here today.
Where can we get a copy of that original contract?
The contract that is being negotiated won't go out until it's voted on and signed by the board.
So you guys are going to okay it for us before we get to look at it?
That's correct.
We talked to the press spokesman for the American Police Force. Her name is Becky Shea, and she recently quit her job with the Billings Gazette to shill for this company, and here's what she had to say to us. How does your organization plan on making money? What's your business model, and how are you going to provide all these jobs?
The plan is, just as the plan has always been for the way to operate Two Rivers, to obtain a contract to hold minimum and medium level security offenders. I think most of us from Billings media understand or have talked about, that's generally done where the agency that needs the bed space pays a daily price, a per diem of sorts, and that's where the revenue comes from.
Is there a problem handing over criminals to an organization that is headed by somebody with a criminal record?
Figurehead of the corporation and the people who are actually hired, trained, and certified as detention officers are very separate individuals.
You can see that these commissioners place themselves in a very tough position after years and years of bad decision making. First of all, starting this prison, and then trying to get prisoners from Guantanamo Bay, and now having dealings with this security company that looks illegitimate, and just the moral aspect. These guys wanted to make money from jailing people who, in many cases, had no crime, no victim with their crime, and so they got burned. And I hope it's a lesson to more out there. So that was our day in Hardin, Montana, and if some place has to advertise that it's a great place to be, it probably is not.